Howdy, y'all. Cowboy Gamer here, and you're listening to the first ever episode number 1 of the Portable Gaming Podcast. And if you don't know, that's an homage to Tim Geddes on the Kinda Funny Games cast, who I admire greatly because of the amount of Nintendo love he has. He's totally a Nintendo fanboy, and he shows it every day. I'd like to focus on this podcast specifically on portable gaming devices, the Nintendo 3DS, the Vita, the other smart devices, iOS and Android, tablets, whatever, but it is just going to be focused on portable gaming. People do podcasts for Nintendo, for Sony. There are some specific podcasts on just one iteration, on just like the Vita, but I don't think there is a single podcast that brings all of these portable gaming devices together and talks about them, how they interact or don't interact, and the commonality they have. Because in a growing market with smart devices getting larger and larger, huge in Japan, people are buying less and less on these other handheld gaming consoles when they can just have one carrying around at all times. However, you're not totally seeing that with the 3DS. For an item that has sold more units than most consoles, people still love smart device items and portable devices. So there's still a lot of love out there for these things, and it needs to be touched on. That isn't to say that I won't on occasion talk about the PSP or DS. There's still some news. There are still PSP games being released to this date, which blows my mind, since Sony has put out the Vita, and there was such a bigger amount of people and units sold for the PSP. It got so much love that people still think people are going to buy PSP games. DS, not so much, but on occasion, people still are discussing their DSs. A lot of people, as big as the 3DS is, they're still playing their DS. Or they're still playing great DS games on their 3DS because that's still an option. Also, it is just me today. I've been trying to get some friends and even a few other people that have some interest in portable gaming to join me on this podcast. A couple people just aren't used to the idea. They're not out there on the internet. They're kind of worried of their first impression being on a podcast and all of that. But I will work on trying to get some other people, maybe some special guests, something. But for now, I wanted to kick this podcast off, and I want to just not sit on it. I've been sitting on it for weeks and weeks, trying to find the right people to get into it and to include. But for now, I just want to start this off and throw it out there, get some feedback, and see what you guys think of this new podcast. I will also be going on a similar topic line of what other people talk about on podcasts. A lot of podcasts focus on 3 things: what they're playing, major news, and then releases. There's still features on with special guests, getting them to talk about themselves, or just random little segments that they create themselves. Since this is just the first episode, I'm not going to be worrying about that. I just want to do the basics, see what you guys think, and then we will branch out and go into the weird and unknown. The first games I am playing is Nintendo oriented. They're the major ones I've been playing, and unfortunately, I still consider myself to be a Nintendo fanboy. That doesn't mean I don't own a Vita. I don't play games on my smart devices, but I have always had a lot of love for Nintendo. They were the ones that hooked me long ago. When I was a child, I owned almost every one of their consoles, and I probably to this date still own about 30 different or 30 consoles. Not to say that some of them aren't the same ones. I have multiple NESs, multiple Game Boy Colors, but I still have a lot of love and a lot of memories from Nintendo. On that note, the game I am currently working on the most is Majora's Mask. I know this game's been out for a while, but I just started playing it about a week ago, and I've worked on the N64 one, but I started playing that on the N64, decided I was just like, the 3DS, people are saying there's a lot of great things, I'm just going to wait, play it on the 3DS, on the new 3DS, have the C-Stick to enjoy the camera controls, and I just wanted to get the full experience. The other reason why I am now only playing Majora's Mask is because I have so many other games I've been working on, as well as my cowboy gamer wife actually was the first one to play Majora's Mask that I got on release day. However, on release day, I had my new 3DS, and I gave my old 3DS to her, and she wanted to try out a Zelda game. This was her first major Zelda game, and she loved it to such an extent that I couldn't really get the copy of Majora's Mask and take it away from her so I could play it on mine. Also, I did have Monster Hunter 4 at the time, so that was one game I was still putting a lot of hours into. And seeing my wife start off with Majora's Mask, one of the weirder Zelda games, and fall deeply in love with the franchise is making me really happy. She now keeps asking me about other Zelda games, the Zelda on Wii U, what other games Nintendo has, the HD remake of Wind Waker, and all the other handheld ones that she could be playing. So I have to say I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes in my life. Majora's Mask on the 3DS, I strongly recommend that if you have the new 3DS, you pick up this game. One of the great things of playing Monster Hunter 4 and Majora's Mask is the C-Stick, and being able to just decide that you want to move the camera a different direction. It's something that you don't have in the old models, and it really changes how you play. Soon, if you give it a few hours, you just all of a sudden start messing with the camera randomly to see different things or to get a different perspective on the game. Majora's Mask, for not getting very far in the N64 version, I really feel lost in this game. My wife made sure and picked up the strategy guide immediately, and I've had to go back to it way too many times. This game has so many intricate aspects of ways that things interact, and there is so few hints letting you know, like, one thing that I did that I just saw in the strategy guide and blew me away, but there are holes that you have to fall into, and you have to talk somewhat or do something with something in these holes. And without seeing the strategy guide, I never would have known what to do. I never would have even thought, like, oh, I have to do it this, but I have to do this, this, and this, and then I have to do all this again multiple times. Like, it just blew my mind that this game had so much towards that without a lot of hints. The Bomber Notebook was a requirement that this game had to get into. N64, you seriously had to create your own notebook with times these people were at certain places, and to be honest, in the town alone, you pretty much need to sit in all the different aspects of the town and just sit there and watch how everyone reacts when people show up and see where they're at all the times of the 3-day cycle. And then you need to talk to them in each aspect where they're at and see if they say something just to get a little bit of a hint of what you might need to do. If you're thinking you jump into this game and you just each like rotation of time, you just are going to be like, I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go to the first temple and I'm going to play it. No, you probably are going to have to replay the same temple multiple times because you're going to need something that you're going to need at another point. That's why this game could be so small of an area, because you're just revisiting the same amounts of space over and over and over and over. There are lots of little like chests and different things that are great. If you want money, you go to this chest. Once you can get to it, or to this hole that you blow up to get some rubies, and then you reset time and you do it all over again. So there's plenty of easy ways of getting money in this system once you figure it out. But that's enough for Majora's Mask. It is still definitely the most weird Zelda game that they've ever made. Another game, though it's very older, is Mario vs. Donkey Kong Minis on the Move. I think that's the actual right title, but it's just one of those other iterations of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. However, I picked this up with my my membership before it disappeared, with my coins, because I had a ton of coins and I had to spend them. And so I made sure and bought almost all the copies of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, since at the time the new Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars was going to be coming out, and I wanted to see what other games were like in the franchise. This one, however, instead of doing platform and like Lemmings kind of did, this was a top-down perspective that you moved pieces around to create paths to get to other points. And you can move those pieces in some games. Sometimes the paths were already laid out. Sometimes puzzles dropped into a queue that you could then use. But this was a really different aspect to the game, unlike all the other Mario vs. Donkey Kong levels, and I did enjoy that. On that note, I never even delved into the create a level. There is so much content in the main game. In the main area, there are 4 unique types of games. Usually, one only has like 3 levels, but the others have like 50, 60 levels, and so there's a ton of content in this game. I will admit again that I did use some cheats and hints a couple of times on finishing a couple of levels, but for the most part, I sat through this one, and there were levels where I would spend hours or a couple of days trying to figure out how to do it, but for the puzzle aspect of this game, I enjoyed myself. Even though it took a while sometimes, I just loved sitting down and messing with Mario characters and what the game could do, the basics and the more intricate things, and trying to see how the game would play out and how many different ways you could still beat the same level. Another game I've been working on, and yes, this is going to be a bit of a list. When I play games, I try to focus on just one game, but sometimes I'm just like, I've played this game for already an hour today, I want to put some time into something else and see how it goes. But that's just one thing I like to do, and it doesn't help me complete a bunch of games, but usually it does keep me playing on all these a little longer than I would think, and on occasion I still fall back to all these different games and do complete them later. But that game is one of Nintendo's free-to-play games called Pokemon Rumble World. Now, they've released 2 free-to-play games on the 3DS system. Pokemon Shuffle was their first one, and this is their second chance of a free-to-play game system to see how well it works. Again, they're they're using the Pokemon name. It is one of the bigger franchises for Nintendo. It's got a lot of love for children, and a lot of the free-to-play, they're kind of tying this with smart devices. Children are really big on the smart devices, so they're trying to catch the children by using Pokemon as a name, because Pokemon is loved more by children than most of us adults. The game has some drawbacks to it. It's great that you have a chance to go through all these different types of levels and be reminded of different games like Pokemon Ruby, Silver, Gold, stuff like that. You see all these Pokemon, and you can catch all these Pokemon, which is great. The aspect that I don't like is getting the diamonds. For a free-to-play game, Nintendo really pushed that you almost have to pay to get this game going well or at a speed that you like. I've put in tons of hours, and the way they have levels set up is you buy balloons, or you get balloons with the diamonds you earn. I only have 5 balloons, and there's a lot of balloons out there that I'm probably never going to have because I don't have the diamonds to get these balloons, which is really annoying because I really don't like replaying the same balloons. On that note, it does have a countdown timer until you are able to replay the same balloon again. And when you get every Pokemon in that balloon, you'll still probably play it again, and you have an aspect of getting stronger Pokemon when you play this. But the balloon aspect that I don't like, and it's not the countdown timer because that is perfectly fine with me, but each balloon has a bunch of different levels, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, and there are only certain Pokemon at each of the levels. And you go through, and when you go into a balloon, it starts spinning, and you click a button, and then it counts down randomly, and you are going to land on one of those levels, but you don't get to pick. It is just a random rotation, and unless you know exactly when to click, you don't know what level you're going to hit. And on that note, a lot of time right now with this game, in a couple of balloons on multiple levels, I have all the Pokemon. There's just one level that I need like 2 more. But every time that cooldown timer is up, I can't get the button right so that I play that level. I play one of the other levels that I already have all the Pokemon for, and it just bothers me. So much so that even though I'm only a couple Pokemon away on those balloons, I really don't replay those levels that much, even though I can. Most of the time I go for levels that have a larger chance of getting new Pokemon on. And that's my biggest drawback of the game. It just doesn't make it easy enough for you to get these balloons and keep progressing through the game fast enough that you don't get bogged down at certain aspects, just waiting to get up or win enough Pokemon diamonds to buy more balloons later to get another chance of getting some more Pokemon. So that's my biggest drawback with the game so far. I actually enjoyed and have put a lot more time into Pokemon Shuffle, even though it's just a match 3 game. I still enjoy that, as well as my wife. She hasn't even touched Pokemon Rumble World, but she still plays Pokemon Shuffle on occasion. And to Nintendo's note, they're still updating and changing Pokemon Shuffle, adding more Pokemon, adding different daily challenges, stuff like that. That game is still staying fresh. One thing that I hope Nintendo's thinking about, or one thing that I would just really like to see for these free-to-play games, is a notification system. On Pokemon Shuffle, you have a 30-minute timer before you get another jewel or a heart that lets you play one more time. I would love a notification system that you could set and say, hey, when I have 5 hearts again, could you blink one of those lights or leave one of those lights on the 3DS? And I've said this on another YouTube thing that I created, but you've got your green light for Street Pass. You got your blue light for Spot Pass and notifications. You have an orange light for friends that blinks to show you when a friend's on. Why can't you make that light hold on for a notification system that says, hey, your free-to-play games are available to play. All 5 hearts are up again. Let me play. Or for Pokemon Rumble World, for your balloons, saying like, hey, when this balloon is up, like the balloons right now I have are 30-minute cooldowns, a 1-hour cooldown, and a 2-hour cooldown. Why not set it for when this 2-hour cooldown is up, you tell me notify me on the 3DS or put the light on, and then I will see that, hey, all my balloons are up and I might want to play again. That would just be something that Nintendo, I think they might be thinking about, but if they aren't, hopefully somebody hears me and thinks about this. I do think Nintendo is going to start thinking about this. They're getting into the mobile market, and the mobile market has notifications a lot. Another game I'll talk about, it notifies me every few hours on random little bits in my game, and as Nintendo delves deeper and deeper into this market, they're going to see that smart devices have a lot of notifications in their games, and this is something they're going to want to bring over to the 3DS if they want to share a common bond between smart devices and their 3DS portable system. Now we'll switch over to games I've been playing on the Vita. I just got my Vita a couple of months ago. I got it at a great deal used, so I have no problems there. I barely have any problems with it, even though it's used. Knowing that, I have a lot of games, and getting a new system, I wanted to make sure that I got the most bang for my buck. I wasn't going to just go off and buy like 6 games because I don't have a lot of money. Like many of you, I knew that if I was going to get a game, I may only be getting 1 or 2 games, and so those games have to give me lots of hours of gameplay. To that note, my first game I purchased as soon as I got my Vita was Freedom Wars. Now, I said before, I have been playing Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS, so very similar games, but I wanted to give it a try. I've heard a lot of great things about Freedom Wars. I heard a lot of great things about it months before its release, but I had to see for myself and try this Monster Hunter variation for Sony. I loved this game, so much so that I've platinumed it. I have gone through so many battles over and over and over. It is a great Monster Hunter variation that is set more in the future, with, instead of just dinosaurs and dragons and stuff, but more mechanical variations of these. I love the online aspect. Works somewhat well. My internet still has problems, so every once in a while I'd get dropped from online matches, but not a super big deal. The story wasn't the greatest, but it kept me enthralled in the game. I put probably 120 to 150 hours into this game, and on that note, I hate that the Vita still does not have a gameplay option of showing you how long you've put into games. Nintendo did this, and it is a wonderful aspect on the Wii U and on the 3DS. It shows you how long you've been playing this game, when you've been playing these games, and I think Sony's probably not doing it because they know if people see it, they're going to realize that, hey, I put $30, $40 in this game, and I got about 5 hours, 10 hours of gameplay out of this, and I'm not replaying it, so why am I buying your products? But Freedom Wars, it had the distance, even though I played some levels and went up against similar bosses multiple times, especially to get the Vita, the Platinum Trophy, but I still loved it. I was playing this at work. I was playing it on drives. I was working my tail off to finish this game. There is the basic premise is you are in prison and you have a huge sentence, 1,000,000 years to work off. And as you do things, you reduce your sentence by fighting other bosses, doing story missions, whatever. You decrease your sentence. I have not gotten down to 0. When you have no more years on your sentence, you become a citizen, as they call. But to get the platinum trophy, all you have to do is drop it down to under 500 years on your sentence. I've got mine down to a little more around 300,000 years, but it was enough to get the platinum. I still pulled off everything, and to be honest, with the amount of time I've put into this game, I don't know if I want to go back to it and drop it all the way down to citizen level. I mean, with the creating weapons and the leveling up weapon system and all of the fine, intricate things that you can do to make really amazing weapons, I just don't know if I have the time to sit there and just create the same weapons over and over and over and get the materials to create these weapons over and over to try and find these perfect weapons. However, this is still a great Monster Hunter game, and if you own a Vita and you want to own like one game that if you get into the Monster Hunter series in any way, or you think you might be interested, you're easily going to get 100 hours out of this game, so it's going to be worth your money. The second game is also a bit old, but I found it really cheap at a store, wanted to pick it up, got a good discount, and that is Little Big Planet Vita. I own a PS3, I've got multiple iterations of the Little Big Planet series, but I've never gotten into these games enough. On that note, Freedom Wars, getting the Platinum Trophy, just starting to get the craze to get these trophies is really pushing me to try and play Little Big Planet more and get the trophies there. On that note, though, some of these trophies are being quite ridiculous for me to get. Even one of them is go through 10 story levels without dying once. And I have put 32 hours into this single trophy, and I've yet to do it. Even so much so that I was on the very end, the last level for my 10th level. I was nearing the finish line, and I failed just before the finish line on one of the levels, and I am still kicking myself. But I don't want to do the you get a PlayStation Network, upload my save data, and then just download it if I die. I don't really want to cheat the trophy system. I want to do it the right way. But some of these trophies, I don't know if I can pull off. And on that note, after putting 32 hours into a single trophy, I've kind of given up on this for a little bit. I want to work on some other games. I was still playing Little Big Planet Vita before I finished Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Minis on the Move, and I still had Majora's Mask, so I felt I'd put in enough time on Little Big Planet. I have still beaten the story mode, and it's a short story mode, but it's got some interesting aspects, and there's a lot of great, just little things you can do to change how your, like, the customization, the cosmetic changes, the stickers and stamps and all of that is just gives you tons of fun things to customize your game however you want. As well as, I have to say, the level editor in Little Big Planet Vita is still probably one of the best level editors I've seen. I've played Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars. I've been watching the Mario Maker game coming out later this year on Wii U, and Create a Levels is you have to get the interfaces right. You have to be able to make it simple for people to understand what they're doing and understand the aspects of the game so they can't break levels, but so that they make good and fun levels for people. On that note, people still create stupid levels that are just, you start here, run for a minute, you get to finish line, you don't die, easy, you get some sticker bubbles, blah. Or I don't understand people that do that, but sometimes just to get a lot of people to play your level, people are going to resort to that. And it's really sad that there are trophies even designed around getting a lot of people to play your levels. But that's enough for the Vita. Those are the only 2 games I own on the Vita right now, and after platinuming the Freedom Wars, I'll probably not go back to that, but if I'm going to go back to any games, it'll probably be Little Big Planet Vita until I get closer to getting the Platinum Trophy on that. One thing that, for gaming, I am not amazing with is smart devices. When I got mine, I've got multiple smart devices, but I just don't game as much on that. With all my other consoles and handhelds, I don't, as much as my phone is always with me and my tablets are always with us, I just don't think about gaming on them as much. However, with the Star Wars craze this year, I noticed my brother playing Star Wars Commander a couple of weeks ago, and I decided I really wanted to try out a good Star Wars game on a smart device, and I wanted to try and beat the main campaign. I like the online aspects. I just wanted to give it a shot. I did a lot of research because, like everyone says, smart device gaming is just a giant garbage heap, and you have to dig through to find those couple of few games that are actually worth your time and money. Delving into Star Wars Commander, though, it is a free-to-play game that does have aspects of getting you to put money into it and pay money to speed up things that you're buying. It is just a strategy game like Red Alert, like Age of Empires. You are building a headquarters, you're building up your base, defenses, walls, different buildings to give you upgrades, stuff like that. And then you create units that you are then going to lead into missions to try and accomplish objectives like defeating other people's bases. Very similar. I find myself not reading a lot of what the story is saying because there are people that come up and say, hey, this is happening, but I really just don't read. I read the brief objective overview. It says, hey, you're going to go into this, destroy this HQ and this town. Done. It's simple enough. I can figure that out. I see the level. I decide where I want to start my units to attack. That's really cool. Another great aspect of when you start this game, you're just a mercenary, and then you get shortly into the game, you get to pick a side. This is a great aspect for Star Wars games. You get to choose, do you want to be the Empire, or do you want to be the Rebels? This I love more than anything because it has replay value now. When I am finished with this game, I'm probably going to delete it. I'm going to start another one, and I'm going to choose the other side just so I get to see all the different missions that I have to go up against and see all of the different units I can create. My first playthrough, I chose the Empire. I don't really, you think good versus evil, oh, Cowboy Gamer, you're just a bad person at heart in some way, and there's a little dark side of you. I have no idea. But in a game where you have a choice between good and evil, so many people always choose the good, unlike WoW, who everyone gets on Horde, but I just wanted to go against the grain. I wanted to try and be the Empire first and see how this thing works and try this game out and see if I'm going to like it or if I'm not. There are 10 chapters if I'm remembering right, and I'm on chapter 7 already, so I'm getting through the game. one aspect I still think is a little unique is you have a protection bubble around you, and you can pay to continue protection so that online gamers will not attack you. As you get farther in the online community, you gain points for winning your matches, and you move up in the rankings. So the higher rank you are, the more likely people are going to be to attack you. Now, this is a great way to just get money out of people, because people see it and they're like, I don't want to get attacked. I've put so much effort into this game already. I'm near the last few chapters. I don't want someone to come along, attack me, destroy my town, have me starting back over. But the fact that you really have to push to spend money to get these protections is something I'm not enjoying. It almost forces people to be like, I'm worried, how long do I think I can last before someone's going to attack me? So far with me, with my play, I don't think, as long as I'm not delving into the online aspect and taking on other people, that I'm going to have to worry about getting attacked before I finish all 10 chapters. I think I will beat this game, the story part of this game, and then if I want, I can delve into the online more and work on increasing my ranking or joining a team and seeing how that goes. That is a note that I did want to mention on this game. You can join groups, clans, whatever you want to call them, and you can have up to 30 people in your group. How you interact, I do not understand, or how you work on sharing resources, any of that. I haven't gotten into it, mostly because I don't want to work on the online aspect as much. I want to just focus on my town, finishing the story mode, and doing that for now. Another aspect I'm not a big fan of is the fact that you really need an online network connection. I know we're smart devices. We have 4G. We can always hit a satellite. But using your data on this just doesn't seem to be a great thing for me, so I save it for when I have the Wi-Fi connection. But on that note, a lot of times I'm going into a place, I'm like, man, this upgrade I have is pretty much done. I need to be working on getting another upgrade for something, but I can't start the game because then I'm going to start using my data instead of you getting a Wi-Fi connection. That still bugs me. It cuts down a little bit on my play, and yeah, I mean, I have plenty of data, I should be fine, but just the fact of using up a little, as small as it might be, to get onto this network just still bugs me a little bit. But that is one of the only smart device games I'm currently playing on. I've played a lot of tower-type games, and there are a lot of good smart device games coming out in the future that I'm looking into getting behind, but for now, that's about all the time I have on to put into all of these games that I've been playing. Last segment that I'm going to talk about is two more segments. That was just the first one, but gaming news and games coming out are my next two segments. They kind of work together because games that are coming out is always usually news, but I'm going to focus more on the gaming news parts as major topics of news that aren't really into what new title is going to be coming out, but they are important aspects for each of these major companies that they're letting us know about the games, the things they're doing to make these things better, the updates to their systems, just new ideas that they're working on in the gaming scene rather than just focusing on the games that are going to be out in the next year. On that note, like the other one, I will start with Nintendo, then to Sony, then smart devices. But the major thing with Nintendo right now is they just had another investors meeting, and they stated that 5 smart device games will be coming out before April 2017. So that's their next fiscal year. They will put out 5 games. This doesn't seem to be a ton considering how many smart device games are out there, but it looks like Nintendo is going to just do a few. They're going to make these games really good. They want to really increase how well a game is received and how good a game is. Unlike a ton of people that just are pumping out tons of free-to-play games and getting those few whales to get those few whales to put in a lot of money into their free-to-play aspects that they spend the money on, the cosmetic changes or the rubies to speed up things, whatever. It looks like Nintendo really just wants to make really good games, these gems, in this hard mobile market already, so that people are going to look at Nintendo and be like, Nintendo, you've always released great games, you give us excellence, you don't give us junk right away, and they want to bring up the quality level of games. They're going to try and push mobile developers to be like, hey, you guys are going to release these free-to-play games. We understand that paying money for games isn't something people are going to like, but hey, if you want to spend like $10 on one of our Nintendo games, you're going to realize that you're going to get an amazing game that's not just a Match 3 or another free-to-play game. And that is something that really makes me happy, because Nintendo's games hold their value. In a market that Sony, Microsoft, they release a game and 2 months later you can buy this game for $5-10 almost anywhere, bugs me, and it makes me not want to buy games on release date, because I know that in a couple of months I can get it dirt cheap. But Nintendo's games, there are still games that are worth $60 out there. There are games that it is difficult to buy this at half price or less, because so many of Nintendo's games hold their value. And Nintendo loves that, they want to push that, and they think people need to keep pushing that. But they're the only ones really doing it. But I like this, even though it's making me spend a little more money. They don't release broken games as often, unlike almost every other major company. They work on their game, they polish it, they make it, they have great little tidbits in all their games to remind you of all those great connections you have, and that is a great thing that Nintendo's doing. Now, with these 5 games Nintendo is producing, the question is, are they going to be on iOS, or are they going to be on Android, or are they going to be on both? Some people are assuming that like one game might be on iOS and one game might be on Android, but I have to hope and believe that Nintendo is going to release all 5 of these games on both. If they go like a free-to-play or a free-to-play model, Android is a lot better for free-to-play. iOS usually gets you to spend a little bit more money on average per person. But if Nintendo chooses one or the other on their games, there's just too much chance that they're going to alienate their consumers. They're going to be like, hey, if they come out at E3 and say, we're releasing our first smart device game, it's coming out in a month or 2, it's only on iOS, all those Android users are just going to be saddened that they don't get to play the first game, and vice versa. However, if they come out at E3 and say, hey, in a couple of weeks, we're releasing our first smart device game, you all can play it, it's going to be free to play, and to be honest, I think their first game, even though it might be a little lower quality, a free-to-play game at the very start gets people starting to play their free-to-play games, just Nintendo games in general, on smart devices, and starts getting people into it. On that note, putting out a really amazing game, even at $5 to $10, shows that Nintendo is all about the quality in that regard. But then they just keep delaying more till towards Christmas before they pump out their first game, and that doesn't give them much time to put out the rest of their games to make sure that they catch the April 2017 window. Another big thing that just happened a couple days ago is Nintendo, and I know this isn't portable gaming news specifically, but this is just huge Nintendo news. Nintendo and Universal have partnered to create Nintendo theme park attractions. Now, I've been to Disney World, I've been to Disneyland, I've been to other parks. I'm not a big fan of all of these rides, all these different things you can do. Personally, when I go in to these parks, I'm like, wow, it cost me this much for a ticket, and I'm going to spend this much more money on all this food and all this these random prizes that I really don't care about, or merchandise stuff that I'm just going to forget in about 6 months. But for as much love as I have for Nintendo, I think I would try and go to one of the Universal theme parks and try out some of these rides when they're completed. If just to talk about it a little more, but to remind my inner child that I love Nintendo products, and I want to be like I was on the Mario Kart ride, or something along those lines. I walked through the Luigi's Mansion and I got to catch some ghosts. Stuff like that I really enjoy and I really want to be a part of. It's going to be a little interesting on how long it's going to take. Like if they're just going to bulldoze some areas and start from scratch, or if they're going to take existing rides and make them Nintendo themed, but I don't know what the timetable is like that. Nintendo's and Universal are pretty quiet, but when they have a few rides or their Nintendo Land is finished, I may have a higher priority on trying to go out and try a few of these rides and see how well it is. That's pretty much all for the Nintendo news. Now, this is nothing confirmed. I have no set dates or anything. But for Sony's Vita news, I want to look at their next operating systems update. If you follow their schedule, we are looking at around late May or early June. There will be another update because Sony puts out a new update about every 2.5 to 3 months. Now, their last update, we saw apps that they had that they're no longer going to handle certain aspects of these apps, and this is speculation at my point. I have nothing confirmed, but that's probably what we're going to see next update for the Vita, is probably some more apps that they're saying, hey, we're not going to continue to update these, or these features are no longer available, because the Vita has not sold well. In a portable gaming market of smart devices and the Nintendo 3DS, 2DS, and all of that, the Vita is just dying. And Sony has already said, hey, we're not going to be putting out AAA games on this device. We are going to focus it more towards the independent crew, and they're still releasing a ton of games, a lot of independent games, but people just aren't caring about their Vita. Few people are still carrying it around, playing with it a lot, which kind of saddens me since I just got into it. I'm a little disheartened that now this new device that I own just isn't going to get the love or the support that it needs. But this is what I think is going to be the future of the Sony Vita, is we're just going to fall away on our support, and we're still going to release tons of smart games or small indie games, but we're just going to support the Vita less and less as we focus on our PS4, because that is what's doing well for Sony. It's what's making them their money, their games, and the Vita is just we're not going to spend as much time on. For smart devices, I actually have no great news on this. There's no good updates coming out. There's nothing major other than the Apple Watch, but that news has been out for so long that I really want to focus on. If you're listening to this, comment, let me know that there are certain pieces of news that you would be interested in hearing, and I will see what I can do to add them to future podcasts. But for now, I'm not going to focus much on smart device gaming news. The great aspect is what is coming out. And this is not just going to be like the next week of what's coming out. I don't know if this podcast will be going weekly or monthly or what I'm going to do with it. I'm just trying to get out episode 1, see what you guys think. So I'm not just going to read down a list and be like, hey, this week these games are coming out on this device. Also, it's not really an option for smart devices because, let's face it, there's like 30 games that come out every single day, and I'm not going to read down a giant list. On that note, I will focus on some games that might mean more to me than others, games that I either were out on PC a long time ago and now they can be ported to smart device that I want to talk about, or just honorable mentions that I think, hey, this isn't on your radar, it's not coming out till like the end of the year, something, but I think it deserves a note, and I think that if you're listening to me, you might think the same way that I do. Maybe you care about some of these games, but that's what's important to me, so that's what I'm going to share. Also, these games may have like demos that I've tried or different things like that that I have some information on, so that's why I'm going into it. First Nintendo game that'll be coming out is in the near future is Puzzles and Dragons Z and Puzzles and Dragons Super Mario Brothers Edition. That is coming out on May 22nd. I played the demo of this that is out. It's not a very big demo, but for the last few months, I have, since they released information on Puzzles and Dragons and some difference on gameplay, I thought I was going to love this game. As soon as it came out, I love Mario. I wanted to try it, since you're getting 2 games in one. I wanted to see what this was like, and it's not a match. It's still kind of a match 3, but it's a different aspect of match 3, and I really thought I'd like that. After playing the demo, though, all love for this game just went out. It's not that it's super complicated or anything, but I'm just not a big fan of how they did their match 3 system, and it's a different concept. I think it's unique, but I can't see myself getting into this game more. If I get it, I think I'm going to put $40 into a game that even with 2 games, I might put 5 hours into each, and then I'm going to get burned out. And that just is not something I want to do. When I get at games, I want to look at games that, hey, if I put all this time into to finish the story, I'm going to get my money's worth, or I'm going to get something great out of it. But after playing this demo, I'm probably going to go back as it nears launch, try more of it, or try and play it over and over, see if I can figure out more of the intricacies and see if I can get my love for this game again. But I can't see myself buying this, not in a market where I have so much money and there's so many games coming out and I need to split it between all these devices. And I will admit, as much as this is a portable gaming podcast, I have a Wii U, I have a PS3. I'm going to be putting money into games on these systems as well. Also coming out for the 3DS, Mutant Mud Super Challenge, coming out sometime in June 2015. This has got a great, uses 3D great. These Mutant Mud games, jumping in the foreground to the background of games is a really nice aspect, and it doesn't have great visuals, but simple core play mechanics are nice for the Mutant Mud games, and I think there's going to be something good about the Super Challenge Edition. On that note, I still might not grab that either, but it's another one of those games on the 3DS that is going to be coming out that it's not a huge game, but it's still going to sell some more. And with the 3DS knowledge, there just isn't a ton of it right now. After last E3, Nintendo really pushed the Wii U games. They want to let everyone know that, hey, the Wii U's not selling well, but we're putting out games, and they're trying to increase sales of the Wii U to get more Wii U's into people's hands. But they're letting their 3DS kind of fall away slightly. Nintendo does not have a huge amount of people to be splitting between Wii U, 3DS, and now smart device, so that they can't do amazing things for all these games if they want to keep releasing a game every month or so. Even getting other people, indie creators, into these scenes, they don't have the resources to handle all three of these fronts well. So they're handling all three of these fronts a little less than the way they usually do, to be able to keep trickling out games for their systems. On that note, though, not a game that is coming out on 3DS, but not by Nintendo particularly, Mighty Number 9, which is still scheduled for the last quarter of 2015. But this game is by the Mega Man creator, his team. They did Azure Strike Gunvolt a while ago, and Mighty Number 9 is a great nostalgic game reminding you of the Mega Man franchise and getting you back in. Right now, with Capcom, it's May. They're pumping out Mega Man games because it's Mega May, and they're putting out a lot. So people are still interested in Mega Man and seeing these games. And Mighty Number 9, I think, is going to be one of those really small games that has the ability to move a lot of units, and people are going to download this pretty heavily. At least the people that know about it. Hopefully by listening to this, if you didn't know about Mighty Number 9, go watch some little bits of gameplay. There's a lot out there, but take a look at this game and see if the concepts of and the gameplay interest you in any way. Also, as a tie-over, Mighty Number 9 is also going to be released on the Vita as well, same time period, so they're not going to be releasing one and then the other later, but I'm not exactly sure where I want to own it. If I only want to buy this once, and I don't know exactly which system I want to play it on, but I will be probably getting this for one or the other. Two other games on the Vita, and hopefully coming out in the foreseeable future, next few months or so. Two games, Axiom Verge, which people still are talking about this game. It's on PS4 will have it, or it has it, and people love this game, and I think it is better on a handheld. It is better for portable gaming. It is a great Metroidvania throwback. I mean, this one creator did this, and it is a really interesting game. I have still not bought it, mostly because if I'm going to get this, I'd rather have it on a portable device. But it's still a very interesting game, and as much as I have never gotten into Metroid type games in the past, this may be one of the games that kicks me off and starts me down this road, and maybe I'll be purchasing more games like this in the future. Another game that I think deserves a good mention is from Drinkbox, and it's not scheduled until probably second quarter 2015 is still where it's geared at. They originally, I think, wanted it in Q1, but it's been moved back to Q2, and that is Severed. Drinkbox are the same guys that made Guacamelee. A lot of people have been enjoying that. Personally, I wish it could be on the 3DS. Vita can handle it. It's on the Wii U, but it's not on the 3DS. Maybe it'd be something that they could release for the new 3DS with the better processing, but I do like what I've seen about Guacamelee, and Severed is definitely a really new, unique aspect using touchscreen and swiping a lot. It could definitely be a smart device game. I just don't know if they're going to release it on iOS or Android. They haven't said anything. If any bit, it may come out on the Vita, and if it does really well on the Vita, maybe they work on porting it over to the iOS and Android. Two bigger games on smart devices right now. You guys have all been watching all of the hype on rhythm games, Guitar Hero, all of that, Rock Band stuff. We all know it's coming back. And now iOS and Android are going to be having a copy of Guitar Hero Live Mobile in July, scheduled for July 2015. Just same iterations of their Guitar Hero Live. It looks like, pretty much similar for gameplay and everything. Probably pretty much the same game, just on smart device, but for a person that does not like Guitar Hero or Rock Band or any of those games very much, it's still so popular, even after it's kind of gone away and now found a resurgence and they're bringing it back. I'm not one that enjoys playing with a guitar or any of that on any of my devices, but having it on a smart device may make it a little more interesting, since I can just put my hand on the screen and touch it to play this game out. So I'm not super excited, but it's a game that's still on my radar, and I may grab it just to see what it's like. One of my final games, or my final game for smart devices, and this is old school, it's a remake, an HD version, but I was scanned through the news and I saw this, and I am losing my mind because of how many hours I put into the original. And that is Heroes of Might and Magic 3 HD. This is scheduled for sometime in 2015 and is another honorable mention because it'll probably come out near the end of 2015. But I remember my childhood growing up, coming home on playing on PC Heroes of Might and Magic with a friend or with myself, and just the tons of hours. I have never finished a single campaign of Heroes of Might and Magic, but I have put hundreds of hours into this game, replaying the same scenarios over and over and over. I would still own this on my PC. I know it's on Good Old Games. I know I can download it. I think I might even have a copy somewhere. But with all the other games, I'm not as interested in owning this on a PC. If it is coming out, and it does come out in 2015, for smart devices, I more than likely, if they can keep this cheap, I will pick this up on a tablet, and I will put tons more hours into this. And if it's coming out in HD, I hope they are like Nintendo and they work on the game. They change some of the mechanics, or they add some new aspects, fix some of the online, so that you are not waiting on another person's turn, that you can work a little better. That was one of the more annoying aspects. Hot Seat Heroes was horrible because your friend would take their turn and you'd be sitting behind them waiting for them to finish their turn, and then you could take yours. Making turns go at the same time, more like Civ 5 and all those games, would be great, and I hope the technology has come along that they're going to implement into this HD remake. I'm sorry to all of you guys listening, even though there probably isn't many, I'm not talking about tons of games coming out. We only have about an hour, and if I brought up all the games that I want to, even in the next week of games coming out in the next week or so, there's just too many end games that I know nothing about. And even with the little bit I could get, you're not getting a good amount of information from me on these games. But if there are other games for smart devices, I will admit the weakest area of knowledge I have is on smart devices. Games that are out there, I know the least about. So if there are games that you want, that you have interest on, that you want to hear about, let me know. But just leave a comment, whatever, and I will take a look into these games. That's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the show, even though there's probably only a few of you going to listen to this thing, and if any of you even make it to the end to this point, I will be really surprised. However, let me know what you think about this. If you made it through to the entire end, I'd love to see a comment on YouTube saying end, or I made it, I finished. I'd love to actually know that somebody went through the whole thing, enjoyed what they're hearing, want to hear more. Like, comment, leave me criticism. I don't care, good and bad. If you think there are aspects that I need to improve, if you want to be included and you want to join me as a guest on this podcast, if you have a lot of information on these, let me know. I'll be glad to take a look at your information, see what you've done, or see your knowledge base if you want to be a part of this. But let me know these things, and as always, Cowboy Gamer, sign off.